We've talked a lot, and we will, about what the Texans will do in the offseason. And you know it. You've been around the league for a long time. It's a copycat league. A lot of things that you see as a trend, become a thing that you do, right? We started to see, I remember when Marshall Faulk got out there and you could have running backs that could run routes and receivers, and then all of a sudden the job of the running back changed to stop not just running the ball, but we want to be able to use you as a weapon in a bunch of different ways. Blitz and all this and 3-4 to 4. We've seen the league take a turn and people kind of copy off of what has been successful. Last year, Clint, I would say, to me, one of the things that jumped out was last year felt like the year of the defense. It felt like the year of the defense back, and it felt like the defenses around the league were even more of a dominant unit than many offenses. The Ravens' defense was dominating. The Chiefs' defense was dominating. The Niners, they had a little issue in the middle of the season, but they were really good last year. Like a lot of teams' defense it seemed to really have a big year last year. When you're looking at this offseason, do you feel like the Texans should maybe lean into what was successful last year in the NFL? You think the offense should, or you think the Texans should look at maybe really building up the defense and trying to have a defense like those teams that we saw were really, really good last year? Or do you think last year was just a one-off and this is still going to be an offensive-centric year? Because before last year, it was offense for the most part. And last year just seemed like it was dominant. You start looking at the scores, there were more down. You think that's a trend that defenses have come back to be more of a factor than they have been in the past?
Look, I think there's a handful of things about the game at the NFL level, really at all levels, but at the NFL level for sure, that'll never change. A quarterback that from the pocket is required to win consistently in the playoffs. Having a run game is a unbelievable advantage, and playing good defense, being able to stop the run and rush the passer is a tremendous advantage. So I don't. Again, I mean, in the Patrick Mahomes era of football, it's easy because they win so much and so often and so effortlessly. It's easy to say, well, that was an offensive era of football. And then you watch Aaron Rodgers go out there and throw 40 touchdowns and single-digit interceptions. I don't remember what it was. But the reality is that playing dominant defense will always be a huge one of what I would say three huge advantages are in the game. And so I think I don't think it's a trend. I think from time to time we're going to have great offenses that are better than the defenses out there. But I do think that more times than not, a good chunk of the teams that remain when you get down to the final 8 teams, the final 4 teams for damn sure, are going to be teams that in one way, shape, or form can play dominant defense. So no, I don't think it's a trend. I think. So
you don't think the Texans should say, "All right, boy, we got to build like the Ravens.
No.
We've got to build the way that the Dolphins offense we see once they got against these teams they could play. We've got to build like these teams."
No, I think not taking any of the needs or any of the salary cap, the draft, take all that off the board for this conversation for me, Ron. Obviously, let's acknowledge they're in a phase where they're building a roster. To me, DeMeco Ryans. I don't care that C.J. Stroud worked out and Nico Collins came out of nowhere and Tank Dell looks like the truth. I mean, and you should go sign a big-time playmaking running back. Forget that. The minute that you decided to hire DeMeco Ryans for an extended period of time, to me, the one thing that had to come to fruition is this has to be a dominant defensive football team. The Houston Texans have to be viewed as one of the best defenses in the NFL sooner rather than later. I understand why they may have not been seriously considered last year. Statistically, in some categories they were. I don't get into those stats too. I don't lean into those stats too much, but they did some good things last year. From a personnel perspective, Ron, from a play caller perspective, play design perspective, DeMeco Ryans' perspective, the Houston Texans, regardless of how many games they win, championships they compete for, the Houston Texans should be one of the top, I'm talking about 3.
Because of him.
Because that's who you are. That's who you know is going to be here year in, year out. Now, if you go build this thing around CJ and Bobby,
that's why I'm wondering: should you build it that way? Should you?
Hell yeah, you should. Absolutely, you should.
So now I think maybe don't go after Saquon.
Well, no, not that. No. You've got an edge rusher, a corner, a quarterback, all on a rookie salary, and your best linebacker all on a rookie contract. So yeah, you can do two things. But I believe that there is no, if the offense struggles year to year and maybe backslides a little bit year to year when you lose an offense or maybe injury hits you, that's one thing. But defensively, you should always have a DeMeco Ryans advantage, and the roster should be built accordingly. They should be building to be absolutely dominant on the defensive side of the football. And I think whether that's a trend, whether you believe it's a trend in the league or not, or it's an offensive-centric league or not, or what kind of era of football we're playing in, you hired DeMeco Ryans, your ass said right then and there, we are going to be great on defense, and we believe that's the path to winning football games and ultimately winning championships. So I think here in Houston, regardless of everything else, you got to build this thing big time on the defensive side of the football.
We'll see. Well, maybe that's what the offseason will look like.
No, it's got to look like that to some degree. But it better be on. They're still at a point now where they're building an entire roster. They're trying to put this whole thing together.